Hello and welcome to the morning sports briefing here on New Zealand Sports Radio at 7 a.m. every single morning. It is Wednesday, May the 20th, and in the news today we have 6 people test positive in the EPL, Akmal lodges appeal, Barrett re-signs for the All Blacks. Yes, we'll keep you guessing as to which one, and more injuries for the Warriors. Kicking off, let's go straight to that news in the football. And they've tested 748 players and staff from 19 clubs in the EPL, and 6 of whom have tested positive. They are going to be self-isolating now for 7 days, which seems rather a short time. I guess they'll get retested before they're allowed to come back to play. As you can tell, with 19 clubs tested, not all of the teams were tested in the first wave, and some of the tests will happened a day later, and so we will wait for those results to come back. Under these circumstances, you can understand why Troy Deeney has said he will not return to training because of the fears of putting his family's health at risk, and so he has decided not to go back. It'll be interesting to see how many players, coaches, etc., decide to go back, and how many decide to stay home for the health of themselves and for their family. He has only a 5-month-old baby who has breathing difficulties, so you can see why he has taken that option. Also, in the Premier League, when they're going back to training, they have a maximum amount of time they can be there for, and also they are doing it in small groups initially with no contact. There are going to be surprise spots checks on the teams to make sure that they are complying with all of the rules, and so a bit like sort of your surprise drug testers, people will just turn up to check on those. And then finally, they've also been told that they could have corona restrictions for up to a year. The UK government experts have said. So let's see, they're still aspiring to get back by June the 12th. And I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, I didn't hit mute in time for you there. And no, and so hence that's why. I think Ashwin says, yeah, isn't incubation period 14 days? Yes, it is. I think they have to test twice negative before they're allowed to come back, which is so probably rather than have to rather than being automatically allowed back after 7 days. So it's going to be interesting to see whether the Premier League actually makes it back. Already we've seen in Europe that France, Belgium, the Netherlands and Scotland have cancelled their leagues. They're not back full time. Sorry for not sneezing into my elbow. I will go and wash my hands straight after the show. I'm going to hand you over now to Ashwin, who will take you through the cricket update.
Yeah, I'm just wiping all that off my face. Morning, Paul, and morning to everybody out there.
Those of you listening to the podcast, we are in different rooms. He's in a different city. He's absolutely safe.
Different cities even. Different cities even. Yes. As I said, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the cricket news again. And as is mentioned in the headlines, Akmal lodges appeal. So Umar Akmal has lodged an appeal against his 3-year ban, which was handed down for serious breaches of board's code of conduct. As per the clause 37 of the PCB Constitution, Akmal appeal will require an independent adjudicator, and the adjudicator will have to be appointed within 15 days. The original suspension was based around claims of not disclosing approaches for corruption. So basically, when anybody gets approached in any format or any way or any mention of collusion, that has to be reported, and he did not report it according to the PCB. Mark Taylor, former opening Australian batsman, believes that postponing or cancelling the T20 World Cup will have huge detrimental effect on smaller nations. Postponing the T20 World Cup will see scheduling conflicts and possibly see 2 T20 World Cups in the same year, which has happened once before. Postponing and cancellation will see the smaller nations also miss out on large amounts of income. Income would be missed through postponement because the clashes in scheduling. So there would be tours cancelled, possibly, or reshuffling of tours, inbound tours, where they make their money. A cancellation would see the smaller nations, well, actually all the nations, but impacting the smaller nations more, on the ICC participation payout. So basically, you turn up to a tournament and you get a payout for turning up, and that's, if it doesn't go ahead, you're not going to get that payment. But in saying that, you would hope that the ICC would be making some sort of payments to help funding of those nations anyway. And as mentioned yesterday, tomorrow night on Swinging from the Hip, we'll have Adrian Dale, our guest. He's a former England A player and also worked with New Zealand cricket here in New Zealand, surprisingly enough. We will get Adrian to explain the English cricket setup, so from club level right through to the county championship and everything in between. He'll also hope, if we get time, depending on how we're going, we'll also get into Adrian's work with New Zealand cricket, where he helped or was a major factor in developing the age and stage cricketing program. So join us at 8 p.m. tomorrow on New Zealand Sport Radio for Swinging from the Hip. And that's our sports news for today, Paul.
Thank you very much for that, Ashwin. And now I'm going to hand you over now. Sorry, I'm going to hand you over now to Stephen, who'll take us through the birthdays.
Yeah, good morning, lads. I've had to change computers, but here we go. We're good. We can go from here. And birthdays today, the son of a Northland cricketing legend. From basketball court to the boardroom, and finally a dual silver medalist in the 800 metres and 1500 metres. And that's where we start this morning. Nikki Jane Hamblin, born this day, the 20th of May, 1988, is a New Zealand middle distance runner who specialises in the 800 and 1500 metres. Born in England, Hamblin ran for the Dorchester Athletics Club before moving to New Zealand in 2006. She gained New Zealand citizenship in 2009. In 2010, Hamblin, who turns 32 today, became the New Zealand record holder in the 1500 metres and won the silver medal in both the 800 and the 1500 metres at the 2010 Commonwealth Games in Delhi. Moving on, Sally Farmer, born this day, the 20th of May, 1976, is a New Zealand former basketball player who competed at the 2000 Summer Olympics and in the 2004 Summer Olympics. Farmer, who turns 44 today, is Managing Director of Park Life Limited, a company that creates active spaces across New Zealand to keep communities fit and social. She was appointed to the board of Basketball New Zealand in May 2019. And finally, Henry Cooper, born this day, the 20th of May 1993, is a New Zealand cricketer. He made his first class debut for Northern Districts on the 22nd of November 2016. In fact, in that 2016-17 season, that was for the Plunket Shield. In 2018, he was awarded a contract with Northern Districts for the 2018-2019 season. Cooper, who turns 27 today, is the son of Northern Districts cricket legend Barry Cooper. And that's it for birthdays this morning.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for the birthdays this morning. Don't forget to join us at 8 p.m. this evening for Do You Know Sport, the best sports quiz on New Zealand radio, the only sports quiz on New Zealand radio, with the biggest prize, which is obviously bragging rights. So do join us at 8 p.m. for that. Don't worry, the contestants do not read the live chat during the show, so you can join in with your answers too in there. But if they don't reply, you know why that is. So moving on to rugby news then, and Scott Barrett has re-signed for the All Blacks through to 2023 and also for the Crusaders as well. So that's taking through to the next Rugby World Cup cycle. He does say the disappointment of the last Rugby World Cup was one of his drivers. He has played 36 tests for the All Blacks, debuting against Ireland in Chicago as well. So, yes, good news there for New Zealand rugby. They did not mention that he has re-signed for Taranaki. So it's going to be interesting to see which province he is signed to after 2020. But when his father was questioned about Barrett his older brother Bowden Barrett leaving the Hurricanes to go and join the Blues, the comment was he can play for any Super Rugby side, but he's only allowed to play for Taranaki. He cannot play for another province. So you would understand that that you'd expect, that Scott Barrett would re-sign for Taranaki. In Sevens news, Sir Gordon Titchen's contract with Samoa comes up at the end of August, and it is understood that he will not be seeking to renew that role. He thinks it is time for Samoa to move on and have another coach come through, and he seems very comfortable with that, having talked with the head of the Samoan Rugby Union. And he thought, with the cancellation or with the postponement of the Olympics and 4 tournaments likely to be cancelled this year, that it was the right time for him to step down and for them to look for a new head coach. So we wish Sir Gordon Titchens good luck in whatever his next role might be. I'm sure there'll be plenty of things for him to get involved with. And even if he doesn't want to do the travel anymore, I can see that he has plenty of things here in New Zealand for him to keep with. Also yesterday, a topic that we discussed in detail on the Hash Rugby chat last night was that it looks like that the balance of power, or balance of financial power, between the Sanzai unions has changed, and that the deal that New Zealand Rugby signed with Sky towards the end of last year will make them actually the biggest contributor to the TV revenue pot, not South Africa. To understand what that means, then do go watch Hash Rugby chat from last week. From last night. You can watch it either here on Facebook or also on the Facebook page. Do like that, obviously, or you can listen to it as a podcast. Just search for New Zealand Sports Radio on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, or your favourite podcatcher. You'll be able to find it there. Next week on Hash Rugby Chat, I say we have been jealous of what's been happening over on our cricket show, Swinging from the Hip, and I've decided that it's time for Hash Rugby Chat to up its game, and we will have current Samoan international scrum half as one of the co-presenters next week. So do join in to Hash Rugby Chat next Tuesday at 8 p.m. I'm now going to hand you over to Stephen Harris, who's going to take us through the NRL update.
Thank you, Paul. And a little bit happening in league news this morning. We've got injuries, people talking about coming out of retirement, and people who've actually come out of retirement. But we're going to start with the Warriors. Just when the Warriors thought it couldn't get any worse regarding those injuries, it has, with confirmation of utility back Adam Kegrin suffered a knee injury at training on Monday night. The club has now lost 3 players in a horror 4-day injury stretch. Kegrin missed the Warriors' season-opening loss against Newcastle, but started at centre in the second round defeat to the Canberra Raiders. Kegrin, who joined the club from Penrith Panthers in 2019, is awaiting scans to reveal the full extent of the injury. The Warriors halfback Cody Nikorima confirmed Kegrin had been training at centre, refused to be drawn into the controversy around the NRL refusing to allow Warriors to bring in loan players to cover for their middle forward injury crisis. A decision many felt was tough on the club, given they had relocated away from their families to Australia for an unknown length of time. That's up to the NRL, Nikorima said. I don't want to harsh on too much about it. I don't want teams out there or anyone feeling sorry for us. We are committed to this, and our families understand where we're coming from. Now, just on a little interesting side note, before we get on to our final story, there's a little bit of talk going around, or not so much talk, but former Cronulla Sharks and Australian prop Paul Gallen has pretty much come out and said, listen, he'd be available for the Warriors to help them out, given the commitment that they've actually made to getting the competition underway, or at least their commitment anyway, being away from their families, etc. So we watch that development with interest. 39 years old. It'd be interesting to see what sort of shape he's in. And finally, in league news, well, speaking of people coming out of retirement, 13 months after retiring from the NRL Rugby League phenomenon, Greg Inglis has confirmed he will join the English Super League in 2021. On Tuesday evening, the Warrington Wolves revealed Inglis had come out of retirement and signed with the club on a one-year contract. He will join former NRL stars Israel Folau, Sonny Bill Williams in the English competition. And that's all our league news this morning. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Thank you much, Stephen, for bringing us up to date with the league news. Moving now on to basketball, and the NBL has announced they'll be running a 7-team league this season, starting from the 23rd of June. Those 7 teams will be the Auckland Huskies, Canterbury Rams, Franklin Bulls, Manawatu Jets, Nelson Giants, Otago Nuggets, and Taranaki Mountaineers. The Huskies and the Nuggets, 2 new teams for this season. The Nuggets were in the league in 2014, and the Huskies were in the league, but based over in Tasmania. So 2 newish teams in the league. 2 teams that won't be taking part will be the Wellington Saints, the defending champions, and they've had 19 titles since 1984, and the Southland Sharks, the 2018 winners. Have both said they will not be competing this year. But those other 7 teams will be taking place. All of the games will be hosted in Auckland. The teams will play between 3 and 2 games a week. We've mentioned before that the amount of money these players will be receiving is not high, but it will be a great shop window for players, both for the league over. So the Breakers playing over in Australia, and also for the NBA as well. For the first time, they will be hosting a draft this year as a way of spreading the talent. And you've got to say, if they're all going to be based in Auckland anyway, it's not like when we have to sort of move cities to join a new team. This will be a good way of spreading the talents out and making it a very competitive league. So it's going to be. They've also got a new way of deciding tiebreakers, be a 1st to 7 rather than a set time period after to decide who wins drawn games at the end of regulation time. And the Tall Blacks coach says this is going to be a good opportunity for him to see the talent that's coming through for selecting for the national team as well. So all looking positive for the NBL at the moment. We do not yet have the actual schedule, and we're looking forward to those announcements coming soon. So 23rd of June, it looks like, which is a Tuesday. It looks like we'll be having them back. That means you have now started the day the best way, up to date with all of your important sports news. Don't forget to join us tonight at 8 p.m. for Do You Know Sport. And at 2 p.m. today, the long talk is with Sean Callahan, the esports owner. Yesterday was with Rennie Ranger. So do go back and listen to that as well. As I say, you can catch those podcasts on by just searching for New Zealand Sports Radio, or you can watch on our Facebook page. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. with the morning sports briefing. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a wonderful day.